It's a brand new week and another opportunity for us to inspire, motivate, and help you take your personal life, your business life to the next level. As always, the Well of Inspiration is a place that you can draw positive content from, things that you can implement into your daily lives, things that you can actually share with other people to implement into their daily lives. You can actually find a list of our episodes that we've done with the Well of Inspiration right here on our YouTube channel. Don't forget, the Well of Inspiration does have its own platforms. That is the website, www.wellofinspiration.com. There is also Facebook and Instagram. Don't forget as well, hit the subscribe button, hit the notification button as well, so that every time we have a new episode, you are first to know. Joining me again, Wellington, hi and welcome.
Hey Don, how are you doing today?
I'm doing fantastic. I'm doing great. How about yourself?
I'm doing very well as well. I'm not complaining at all. Everything is going the direction it's supposed to go. So everything is good.
Fantastic, fantastic. We're closing the gap in terms of coming towards the end of the year. So I'm sure people are, getting busy for the festive season. I know how it works on the island.
Absolutely, absolutely. So people are getting busy, and this is the Creole Festival month, so there's quite a bit of Creole traditional stuff going on around, and which is always a fun time for everybody. So we're enjoying the time so far. Everything is really good.
Fantastic. I'm just going to ask you one thing. Please have some octopus curry for me. I miss it so much.
That's my favorite. I discovered recently a very nice grilled octopus. So that's
so
an interesting one.
Fantastic. Make sure you have some for me.
All right.
All right. Wellington, let's get into today's episode. What do you have in store for our audience for today?
Absolutely. So, as we always talk about successful living and figuring out the best ways we can to channel our lives in the direction we want, doing the things we want to do in the ways we want to do them in order for us to achieve the success that we believe we deserve and the success that we can view, understand, and recognize in our own lives. Many times when we go through these spaces where we're trying to figure out how to live our lives like this, we are often in need of some kind of inspiration. And this is the reason why we are doing this show, The Well of Inspiration, to just give you some ideas, some information, and things for you to think about and ponder on as you figure out how to live your life successfully. And today, of course, is no different. We're trying to figure out as well, as we work to do the things we need to do, as we work to provide for our families, as we work to make a difference and provide value to our communities, in some cases to our customers, to our clients, what can we do ourselves to ensure that we increase our chances of becoming successful in the various endeavors we are going through in our lives? It might be in your personal life, in your relational life, in your business life, or in every other aspect of life you might come across. Today we will explore some ideas that can help you, inspire you to successful living as an individual.
Fantastic. And I think this is something that we all need to be able to take a listen to and understand, and also things that we can actually incorporate into our own lives to make us successful on different levels. Like you say, we're all busy trying to do things, trying to grow, trying to help our families. And this episode, I think, is great because it's going to help people see things differently and allow them to shape different things of their lives or different aspects of their lives to be able to be more successful. So where do we begin, Wellington?
You know what? I think first of all, look, the way we see the world not just as it is, but we see the world as who we are. In other words, our worldview is what informs how we view the world. So when we view the world, it doesn't come from a place of the world happening to us. It is us interpreting what we're seeing in the world and having that relate to us in one way or the other. That is why two people can have the same experience but understand it completely differently, because we have our own worldview and we see the world through the eyes of who we really are. Now, the first thing to think about is, if you're working to improve yourself, if you're working to achieve things in your life, there's one critical thing that is the only important thing that you alone can control, and that is your good name. Your good name. When I say your good name, I'm not talking about just the name you were given by your parents at birth. I'm talking about the reputation you cultivate as you go through life. I'm talking about the decisions you make as you go and how those decisions impact how the world views you and how you come across to the world. What name are you projecting out there? What name do you want to project out there? What do you want to be recognized for and recognized as? This is what I believe is one critical element for all of us to remember, that as we go about our lives, as we make decisions, as we run around and talk to people, do the things we have to do, we are adding or subtracting from the good name that we have. The question to you is, are you deliberately making an effort to add to your good name, or you are just making careless choices that take away from your good name? Or if you've made mistakes and done things to take away from your good name, are you making choices today that will help you to add to your good name and restore your real position in the world, the real value you bring, the real person that you are, as you work to add value to other human beings, value to your families, and as you add to contribute to the businesses, the communities, and everywhere that we have influence over?
Wellington, I think this is such an important thing that you've brought up, the fact that it is critical for you to protect your good name, because in a world that we live in today where we are so exposed to so many different things online, you can open an account with any social platform that you want to open. It's up to you to decide what kind of content you're putting there. And if that content is not substantial, people actually today look for, if they're trying to interview somebody, they're going to look online, they're going to see your profile, they're going to go through certain things of yours, and all those different things, you may not know it, especially for the younger generation. You may not know it now, but it plays such a critical part as you're looking for a job, as you're looking for something, of substance to grow yourself. If you're putting content out there that is not of substance, if you're doing things like you say, you can make a mistake, that's fine. We all make mistakes and we learn from it. But are you being careless with what you are uploading on social media? And I put social media at the forefront because it is the biggest thing at the moment, and has been, and it will continue to be for quite a while. What are you putting on your social media feeds?
Absolutely. And it has become, the internet has become an extension of our lives. So sometimes it may be difficult to distance yourself from the real person that you are and the persona that you put out there in the real world. So in the digital world, you've got to figure out where to draw the line, where to connect the two. And you're right, recruiters nowadays, you don't get recruited for a job, for a business, unless somebody goes online and does some little due diligence on you, just to see what you've been up to, what your opinions are on certain things, how you present yourself out there, whether you actually care how you come across to other people. So people do pay attention to all these things. And somebody once said that it can take you 30 years to build a reputation, to build a name for yourself, and then it can only take you 30 seconds to destroy all that work. Why? Because you've just made one simple mistake that can cost you an opportunity, that can cost you your reputation, or it might take you even longer to now come back and try to rebuild as an individual. Many names we know, many famous names we know, go through these kinds of things and they struggle to bounce back from that. It becomes very difficult. In some cases, people end up losing completely, and their lives take a turn for the worst because of a decision that they made that ended up ruining their name and their reputation in an industry, in a sport, in civic society, in business. That reputation, for example, you make a mistake, you steal from the bank where you work, you end up in jail. By the time you come out, it doesn't matter how many qualifications you have. It might be difficult for you to get back in that same space where you were. So it's very critical, guys, for you to remember to protect your name. Protect the name that you have. Protect the reputation that you've built over time. There's a reason why you were working to present yourself in a certain way. Don't let poor decision making destroy that in an instant. So that's the first thing that I want us to consider today.
Fantastic, Wellington. And before we move into the next one, I was just, thinking while you were talking about protecting your good name, I think it's upon us as parents of this generation now to ensure that we are showing our children how to protect their names. And I think it's something that that is so critical for us to have to take upon ourselves as parents, to take to our children and ensure that they are protecting their names. They cannot do it if we're not teaching them how to do it. If we're not, observing what kind of content they're putting on their platforms. We need to be the ones to lead them so they can make the better choices tomorrow for themselves.
Absolutely, absolutely. And while we're speaking of a good name, it actually brings me to the second point. The second point being who you are as a person comes out clearly through the things you do when nobody is watching. This is very critical. You know what? It's one thing to stand in front of people or to stand in a group and profess beliefs and values and morals. And then it's another thing to see you practice them when you have an opportunity to behave differently, especially when nobody is paying attention to you. Who are you when nobody is watching you? How well do you play when nobody is watching you? How committed are you when nobody is watching? When you don't have a supervisor over you, when you don't have your relationship partner looking at you, what are you doing? What are you watching? Who are you talking to? Where are you going? That, my friend, reveals more about who you really are than what you say or what you profess in front of people. That's why I encourage you guys to think about, as you work to protect your name out there, remember also to cultivate the name, to cultivate your reputation to yourself through the things that you do when nobody is watching you. This is absolutely critical. This is important for people who are public figures, but most importantly, for those of us who are private. It is in the privacy of your life that your real character is demonstrated. Sometimes we come out nice and clean out there, but when nobody is watching, we are not the best people. My question to you, my friends, today is that when nobody is watching, what are you doing? When nobody is paying attention to you, what are you thinking? Whatever you're thinking, whatever you're doing, whatever you're spending your time with, that is what defines how you view the world and how you show up in the world. Sometimes who you really are comes about even if you are trying to hide it and present a persona out there. Who you really are always has a way of showing up. And sometimes if you manage to suppress it, it will show up at the wrong time. It will show up at a time when you will actually lose opportunities, lose people, and lose instances that could have made great progress for your life. So my friends, remember this: wherever you are, whatever you're doing, pay attention to who you are. You are more accountable to yourself than you are to anybody else. Think about that.
Absolutely, Wellington. I absolutely love this episode because I think it allows us to reflect on who we are. It allows us to go back to where it all begins, with what we portray, with what we push out. Who are you? Are you happy with who you are? Are you doing the right things when no one is watching you? Are you pushing yourself in the right direction? Are you portraying something different than what you're portraying when you're, in front of more people? These are the things that you need to ensure you are putting in place. Ensure that you're doing the right things. Now, before we go on with the Wall of Inspiration, we're going to take a quick break and we will be back with more for you on this subject. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back to the Well of Inspiration. Today it's all about inspiration for successful living. Now, we all have things that we need to do. We all have people that we're taking care of. But are you putting into place the different things you need to put into place for you to be successful? Now, Wellington has given us a couple of tips, things that we need to ensure that are in place for us to be successful, to live successfully. One of them is protecting your good name. And this is something that is so critical to each and every individual out there. As we spoke about, being out there on social media, being in front of many people, protecting our name is so important. Are you doing the right things for your children to protect their names? Are you showing them the right path that they can take to protect their names? These are little things that you need to put in place. What are you doing to protect your good name? He's also spoken about what do you do when nobody's watching? Are you the same person that you are in front of other people? Are you portraying a different persona? Wellington says it's very critical to be a person of substance, somebody who, when you're behind closed doors, you're doing the right things, ensuring that you're putting things into motion and the right things into motion, taking the time to ensure that you are putting everything you need to do in place. He says there's sometimes that we can actually show a different person when we're in front of people, but it somehow finds a way of actually blowing up in our faces. It will come out at some point. Are you that person? If you are, maybe you need to reflect in yourself and change those different things. Wellington, what else? What else is there?
You know what? Over the years, I've come to believe in this concept that there can be no happiness in your life if the things you do for a living or the things you do in your life are not aligned to who you really are. It creates what I call the integrity gap, where there's a distance between who you really are, the things you really want to do, and who you are showing up as, and the things that you are doing in your life, whether for a living or for just sustenance or just for fun. If there's a disconnect between who you really are and the things that you do in your life and who you're showing up as in the real life, that creates a bit of commotion for us, because then at the end of the day, you may achieve success. What other people might look at and consider, wow, this person is doing so well. But deep inside of you, you will know that this is not where you want to be. You will know that the success that you've achieved is not really what inspires you, what fulfills you, what makes you as a person complete. Then you go through the struggle, and people wonder why some of the most successful people we know tend to die by suicide. Because they just have come to a place where things get complicated for them so much that they find an easy way out. It has become so disconnected from who they really are and what's going on in their lives. It becomes a very complex thing to discuss. And when they think about that, they end up finding a way that is sadly not the best way to go. It all comes down sometimes to the integrity gap. You know what? Deep inside ourselves, we've got an intelligent witness who watches us every single day. That witness is called our conscience. Sometimes the things that we do, when we're about to do something bad, or when we're about to do something that is not congruent to who we are or what we believe in, our conscience stops us sometimes. Our conscience reminds us of who we really are, and sometimes if you listen to your conscience, you will find yourself stopping and not going ahead with whatever you wanted to do. In many cases, we fight our conscience. Despite what the conscience is telling us, we still go ahead and do the things that we do. And when we do these things, it creates challenges for us, because at the end of the day, now you look back and you have a conflict within yourself. You have done something, but you don't believe you should have done something. But you've already done it. You can't reverse it now. So how do you carry on from here? You now have to go through a whole process of forgiving yourself, recovering from what you might consider to be a mistake. The biggest challenge that we face in our lives is not that people let us down. Sometimes it is because we ourselves let ourselves down. It's called self-betrayal, where we are not living life the way that we expect ourselves to live, where we are not showing up at our best potential, and we somehow convince ourselves that it is what it is because life is what life is. we then have a challenge because whatever we achieve, whatever we do, we have that gap to fill. And that gap sometimes, when it's not filled, we go through a very unfulfilled life, which may look glamorous on the outside, but rotten on the inside. That is a big challenge that we all face, and it all comes about through this thing called the integrity gap.
Wellington, this is powerful, and the reason I say it's powerful is because we're living in a time where freedom of anything goes, and as we all know, we are free to do so many things, but that integrity gap, how will you close that gap? How are you going to ensure once you start putting all the different things that you're putting, the negative things that you might be putting out there, how do you close that gap and bring yourself back to a point of ensuring that you have your integrity in place? It's very difficult. And I think with a younger generation that is up and coming, it's ensuring that they know that they need to have that integrity, not for the world, especially for themselves, having the integrity for yourself, for me as an individual, and how fulfilling it is actually when you have an integrity or you have integrity with you and it works hand in hand.
100%, Don. I think this is a very critical subject to remember. And as we work to seek inspiration to achieve the things we want to achieve in our lives, let's try to align our actions with who we are so that we do not have this integrity gap. Now, another thing to remember is this. Talk is cheap, like they say. It's important for us to keep our promises. This sounds like a very general idea that anybody can just come up with, but my friends, this is very important. Think about it. If you don't keep your promises, but you talk about stuff that you say you're going to do and then you don't do it, what does that do to you? At the end of the day, when you look at yourself, do you feel good about promising and not delivering? And by the way, this is not just about the promises you make to other people. It's about the promises you make to yourself. When you commit to yourself that you're going to be doing something, do you actually spend the time necessary to do what you have to do within the time that you have to do it? When an opportunity comes across and you see the opportunity and you promise yourself that you will take this opportunity, do you actually take the opportunity during the lifetime of the opportunity? Remember, every opportunity, every chance has got a timeline. Do you keep the promises that you make to yourself? When you say you're going to wake up in the morning and exercise, do you actually do that? When you say, I'm going to wake up in the morning, I'm going to call this person, do you actually do that? Keep those promises to yourself, and this will bring you closer to living the life that you want, a life of integrity, a life where you are living at a point where you need to live. You are showing up the best way that you can. One of my biggest challenges in life has been the fact that in some cases, I have had to go back and relook at myself and do some serious work to figure out what is the best way that I can show up. My friends, when it comes to correcting these things in our lives, it's a painful process. Sometimes we need to go back to the people that we relate to, the people in our lives, our families, our friends, and say to them, guys, I'm going through some difficult times. I need to roll back and really look at myself and work on who I need to be so that I can show up as the best version of myself. When you show up as the best version of yourself, my friends, it shows in your face. It shows in your actions. It shows in your output. It shows in how you deliver for the benefit of other people. The value you bring to the table multiplies because you are now operating at a point where you are showing up, bringing the best that you can bring to the table. It's very important to recognize that talk is cheap. Always work to keep your promises.
I love this, Wellington. I love the fact that, you talk about keeping promises. It's so critical. And it's critical for yourself. It's critical for the people around you to be accountable for making those promises that you've actually made to them. And I think this can also take us back to an episode that we did. And when you were just talking just now, you were saying, there are some people who you need to, tell them, I need to move on, or I need to do things differently for me to achieve what I want to do. And some of those people will not understand what it is that you are trying to do. They will not want to walk walk that path with you, and it's fine for you to walk that path alone, because sometimes, we have to travel those roads alone when we're trying to make the different changes that we need to make ourselves better. And we've done an episode that talks about when they don't believe in you, because sometimes you need to change, and they might not believe in you or believe in your dream, but it's necessary for you to take those steps to achieve those dreams and change different things in your life to make you a better person.
100%, 100%. This is very important. And when you talk about keeping promises, remember, life is about relationships. A lot of the things we do come about, a lot of the things we achieve come about because of the relationships we've cultivated over time. And relationships have a very key element of honesty, integrity, truthfulness, and keeping your promises. Right? So we've got to make sure that as we relate with other people, we're not showing up with a persona, but we're showing up as who we really are, adding value from a very authentic position, so that you do not then get surprised tomorrow. Something comes up that you no longer relate to because you're playing a part. Okay? If you're playing a part, tomorrow you may be playing a different part. So you may not recognize what you said the other day, what you promised to do the other day. But if you're living authentically, then that's who you are. Whenever it shows up, you can identify it, you can recognize it, and you can be that person at any given time. Another thing about keeping promises is this. Some of us adults, we make this mistake of not keeping our promises to the kids, the children around us. Let me say this, my friends. These little people, they are watching our every move. They are forming their worldview on the basis of the experiences we are giving them every single day. If you make it a tendency, you make it a regular thing that you do not keep the promises you make, you are giving them some very poor grooming as far as how they show up in this world. They will come up with an understanding that keeping your promise is not so important. And they will begin to imitate exactly what you do. And when that happens, my friend, when they play that same card towards you as they grow up, you will realize the impact of the mess that you made in the beginning by just not keeping your promises as the kids were coming up. Just something for you guys to remember and to consider as you relate and interact with the little people around us.
It's very true, Wellington. And I think one thing as parents that we don't realize is that we're not grooming our children for ourselves. We're grooming them for the world. So are we doing the right things? Are we ensuring that we're putting the right decisions, the right actions, the right kind of portrayal of who we are in front of them, and ensuring that the promises we make to them we're keeping? Because like you say, tomorrow they will learn. They look at us, they watch everything that we do, and they learn from us. So they're going to do the same things when they go out into the world. So are you sure that that is the kind of life you want for your own child when you groom them for the world?
Absolutely, absolutely. That is very, very important. Now, another thing to remember as we work to figure out how we can show up in our best versions, how we can continue to achieve the things we need to achieve in our lives, our goals, our dreams, our aspirations, as we bring them alive in our lives, is to remember that sometimes we just have to persevere through the difficult times. Sometimes we have to just keep pushing, even when the going seems so tough that pushing another mile just seems impossible. I am reminded of the story of the acres of diamonds, where the gentleman was busy digging and looking for diamonds on a field, and after doing so for so long, he gave up and he sold the farm to another person. When the other person took over the farm, he only had to dig a few miles and he found the diamond. If only the previous farmer had stuck with it and just carried on, he would have found the diamond in not too distant future, and his wealth, his future would have been completely different. My friends, I don't know what you're going through today. I don't know where your life has taken you. I don't know what challenges you're facing today. I don't know what your financial situation may be. I don't know how your relationships are working, or maybe your business. I don't know how you're doing in school, how you're doing in university. I don't know what your aspirations are in life. I don't know what dark place you're coming out of. But I'm here to encourage you, my friend, and remind you not to give up. There is hope that springs eternal. Whatever you do, my friend, don't lose hope, because the minute you lose hope, that becomes the beginning of the very end for you. Stay with it. Keep pushing. Keep riding high. When you fall down, rise back up and keep pushing again. One day, whatever needs to crack will crack. Whatever glass you need to break will be broken, and you can walk through. Whatever walls need to fall down in front of you, they will fall. And this, my friends, will help you take your life to that next level of success, the next level you've been so yearning for, working hard for, and that at this particular point, you look around and you think it may never be attained. Never give up. Keep pushing.
Very wise words, Wellington. Never give up. It's something that's very difficult, especially when you're going through hard times, when you're going through situations where you find yourself that nobody understands what you're going through. Allow yourself to go through the motions, allow yourself to go through the situation, but do not give up. And we do have content right here on the Well of Inspiration. You can check the playlist. There's so many different subjects and so many things that we cover that can actually maybe help you, motivate you, encourage you when you feel like you're about to give up. It's right here on the playlist on this YouTube channel. Just hit that subscribe button. You will get more content as we continue with the Well of Inspiration. If you have any questions, if you feel like you want to reach out to somebody and talk to somebody, Wellington is the right person to do so. He has his website, www.wellofinspiration.com. You can reach him on that. Send him a message. He will reach out to you. He will help you. He's done it for so many people, and he continues to do so. Wellington, before we wrap up this subject today, your final words for our viewers.
You know what, guys? As you go through life, I just want to wish you tremendous success in whatever you choose to do. But today, wherever you go, show up as best as you can. If you're in a job, be the best you can be in that job. If you're a parent, be the best parent you can be. If you're a teacher, be the best teacher that you can be. Show up, add value, and be the very best version of yourself today in every aspect of your life that you come across. And remember, when things don't work out the way that you want, don't lose hope. Never give up.
Fantastic. Wellington, thank you so much for this content today. And thank you for always just giving us content that can motivate our audience, content that can touch different people's lives, content that has touched my life as well. And we continue to push on with the Well of Inspiration. Don't forget, like I said, make sure you subscribe, make sure you hit that notification button, because when you do so, every time we release an episode, you will be first to get it. And Wellington, please, please do make sure that you have that octopus curry or grilled octopus for me, please.
All right, I will.
Fantastic. I'll see you next week, same time.
All right, take care, Dawn. Cheers.
Take care. Bye.
All right, bye-bye.